They call it the Abbas Women Riot of 1929. But what if I told you that it wasn't really a riot per se, and it wasn't just about taxes? You see, when many people hear about women riots, they think about a small group of women protesting in a small town. That right there is actually a very big misconception. Let me tell you this. What happened in 1929 spread across a large part of southeastern Nigeria. Thousands of women from Igbo, from Ibibio, from Andoni, from Andoni, I'm not sure I got that pronunciation right, from Opobo, and even from other neighboring groups. These women organized what turned out to be one of the most anti-colonial movements in Africa. To understand the reason these women rose up, you have to understand how pre-colonial Igbo society worked. Let me tell you this. Igbo women have never been silent spectators. Igbo women traded major markets. They held influential titles. They led women's assemblies. And they had a recognized way of holding their leaders accountable. One of the famous or most powerful tradition was called sitting on a man. When a man or a leader abused his power or abused authority, women would gather at his compound. They would sing, they would dance, they would shame this man publicly, and they would refuse to leave his compound until justice was served. This was a respected form of political protest. It wasn't disorder. Then British colonial rule changed everything. You see, the colonial administrators, they appointed warrant chiefs and they weakened our traditional systems. And they relied on censuses and taxations, systems that the communities did not truly trust. In late 1929, a rumor started to spread across that the women themselves would soon be taxed. And whether this policy was true or not, the fear came after years of growing frustration over colonial interference, corruption, and economic hardship. So, what did these women do? They responded. They responded using a method that was deeply rooted in their own political traditions. They sang, they marched, they occupied administrative buildings, and they demanded accountability. And in most places, what did the colonial forces do? They opened fire on these women, killing and injuring many of these women who were simply protesting. This wasn't simply just a riot. It was an organized political movement. A political movement led by women who understood organization, women who understood negotiation, women who understood the power of collective action, long before the world expected African women to have political voices. And you see this movement, it mattered because the colonial governments, they made investigations into what happened, they made administrative changes, and they began rethinking aspects of indirect rule in southeastern Nigeria. So, why should every school teach about the Abbas women's protest of 1929? Well, it is because it reminds us that African women were not just waiting for someone to give them a voice, they already had one. See, history isn't about who ruled, it isn't just about that. It is also about who refused to be ruled without justice.